Oh no, wait, I gotta leave it at that. I just realized I can't read what the chat says. Hey, can you do me a favor and go onto YouTube and see if the You Can't Say That podcast is live?
YouTube. Let's see if the you can't say. We're up, we're live, we're up live in style. Fuck. We woke, nigga.
We woke.
Alright, so I'm about to copy and paste it
Okay.
and put it in places of fuck. Let me post this on YouTube. Oh, not on YouTube. This is nice pictures. I'll post it on my Tumblr work. Live. Todd. Cat. Posting.
Alright, I'm finally back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back. You just came back just in time.
Yeah.
I have the podcast, the stream up. It's on pre-podcast banter mode.
Is it actually?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's live.
it's live right now. I
Oh,
just
shit.
posted. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
music playing in the background.
Let me post that. Is it on Tumblr?
And, well, Retro posted it on Tumblr.
I don't hear the music.
It hasn't showed up yet. There we go.
Oh.
I was trying to adjust it to the perfect volume so, like, it's not overpowering anyone.
Well, I would overpower you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh. You're getting a little bit sexual.
Please use bad video says please use keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently keyframe speed are not being sent often enough, which will cause buffering. Use
YouTube streaming sucks. Even if you're just streaming one picture.
Here's a picture. It's buff. This stream
This
is
picture
bad.
is buffering.
Nah, like this. We're just streaming a picture, but like the stream itself is back by like 3 hours. So by the time you should be watching this stream would have been over. Why are you still here?
Could you give me a stream link on the Discord server real quick, so I can
Okay.
share it with a few people?
Okay, cool. Let's put this in the nigger chat. Oh.
Don't call it the nigger chat. Come on.
Nigger chat. My bad. Hard R. My bad.
No respect, dude.
I have all the respect, dude. The hard R means respect. So PewDiePie was right when he said it.
Come on, man. You can't defend the Pew.
Yeah, you can. He's a sexy motherfucker. I'm sorry, but he's handsome. He's a handsome man.
He's a sex symbol.
Yeah. He's lucky that also you fucking degenerate watch you go back to playing for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Link. You're just like, I could go away, but Yugi.
Yugi. We're going to have a bunch of auto duels on the background.
Oh, good thing no one's gonna hear that.
Yeah.
Man, I regret taking this pizza up here because now I'm not hungry.
Dude, I'm eating some good ass tacos.
I'm eating nothing.
I was more thirsty than anything. I don't know why I thought having pizza was a good idea.
I'm eating nothing because my medicine will no longer allow me to eat nothing.
What?
Stomach.
The fuck did you say?
I'm eating nothing because my stomach won't allow me to eat anything after these hours.
Oh damn. Why?
Because apparently I'm dealing with. They do not know. They have not. But I'm having some stomach issues. I've been having stomach issues to where I can't eat unless I take medicine. And after a certain point, the medicine will wear off, and then I can't eat.
That
So that's
sucks,
pretty
dude.
hardcore.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, I gotta take my medicine. Because I have to take one in the morning and I have to take one at night.
Dude, you can't eat less than my grandpa, and my grandpa can barely eat shit. He couldn't even eat the birthday cake we were eating today. He had to eat carrot cake.
My favorite, I mean, not my favorite, my grandpa's favorite cake is strawberry cake.
My grandpa's favorite cake is beer.
Beer. That's all he has is just beer.
He loves beer. Well, actually, he loves something more. Mezcal.
I thought you were gonna say pussy.
No, not for the avid Sonic fan. Nah, he has all the pussy. He just bust out his copy of fucking the Sonic Adventure 2.
Dude,
Tasty.
my dad, not my dad, my granddad was a fucking gentleman. He dated a girl in school that already had a child and eventually married her, and she was my grandma.
Wow.
Who does that? No one in this day and age would start dating someone with a child.
I mean, there are exceptions to that. That's mainly older, more matured people, not necessarily one that it was like of early young adult years.
That was in high school.
Yeah, that was in high school. That's unheard of in high school.
Good people in high school? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Good baby boys in good high school.
Everyone from middle school and high school wanted to be an edgelord to some extent.
I can happily say today that I'm no longer in high school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now
I
you-
just graduated.
now you-
Barely, but I graduated.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Apparently, we have 3 people watching. I have no idea if that's us or other people.
That's probably us.
Oh, look, we're watching ourselves.
Rip the dream.
Rip the dream.
There were 4 people, and then went down to 3.
Because
But
I
then
opened
again-
the stream 2 times.
Oh my god. Could you actually do that just
It's
like
just-
have multiple tabs with the same stream open and it would count?
No, I don't think that's
Okay.
possible.
Duplicate. I was just duplicated 3 times.
Just like have like 10 tabs open per person. We'll have like 30 people supposedly watching this.
Nah, it still says 3.
Well, I don't know if it's like Twitch where like it takes like fucking a century to,
Oh,
to
wait,
update
it said
the
5 now. Then we got a 4. I
It
think it
hasn't,
actually worked.
it hasn't changed for me. I'm on like the little like video manager.
No, it went to
site.
5. We actually have 2 people. Or it went to 4. Now it went to...
Well,
No, okay. Yeah, the duplication thing actually did work.
I'm not seeing the results of that.
I am seeing it.
Yeah. Like, okay, let me do it again. Duplicate.
Okay, everyone just opened the stream like 7 times.
That'll get us more views.
Yeah.
God, I can't. This sucks. I can't check anything else on Discord. I have to leave it like this.
See, it says 4 now. Now it says 5. And I've only opened up 2 other
I have it open to 5 times.
I see 4 now, but I don't. It's not increasing at all. I love how we're all just trying to the first live podcast streaming pre-session is just us trying to figure out how do we get more views. Who be there?
Who be there?
Who be there?
You beast. The beast said,
Be you beast. All right. Well, if we want to get the podcast going, I suppose we could.
Whomstuff is there.
Whomstuff. Whomstuff.
Whomstuff is there. Yeah, we want to get the podcast going. Let's get right to the gist of this podcast.
Into the news.
Or that too.
All right. With that, I'm gonna turn off the pre-session banner thing.
We've been doing pre-for. Someone laughed. Now we're down to 2.
That means there was someone watching us.
This whole time. All right.
I should probably post the links of other places other than my chat. Because, sure, it's good and everything to post to Discord and my channel, but you know what else be good? Other fucking places.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm just gonna put back the music.
And I'm posting it everywhere I can find stream announcements.
Roman is here.
Roman? Marcus Roman. It's the Dorks. That name should sound familiar to me? I don't know.
It's
I have no clue who the fuck a Marcus Roman is, but hello!
Welcome to the first ever live You Can't Say That podcast.
You know it.
The first and the very last.
The first and the very last.
We're canceling everything. Cancel it. Cancel it.
Cancel it. It's canceled tomorrow.
Last chance to see the legendary You Can't Say That podcast.
I told you it was Melissa and the band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, her name is Mark, too.
Yeah, I just forgot that, he was doing that blog.
I'm not with this new hip lingo. What the fuck is a quack?
The fuck's a quack? What even is a quack?
No.
Alright, well, I think we'll stay up for 3 more minutes, and then we should just get to rolling to the podcast.
Get right into the news.
Get right into the news.
Into the news.
Into the dark abyss. As above, so below. That movie was pretty okay.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
Well,
yeah, that's the one with the catacombs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was shit.
Well, but it was the only movie at the time that was actually a somewhat good rendition of fucking Dante's Inferno.
You know what's a better rendition of Dante's Inferno?
Dante's Inferno. I said rendition, not a fucking copycat. Jesus Christ.
What about the video game?
The video game is so great. It has titties.
It's basically
God of War.
It's God of War, but not really.
This one has the type of titties you would like. The ones that are fucking huge, disgusting, and have nipples that look like fucking oranges.
What?
What?
My nipples look like vitamin C.
Instead of milk, I spread out orange juice.
No, I mean like those type of nipples that instead of actually being a nipple, they have a fucking hole in them.
No, that's not. No, inverted nipples look like pepperoni nipples.
So pepperoni has like an inverted thing inside of them. Just once you open up a packet of pepperonis, they're all inverted. They are
Get it?
4D.
I don't like talking about that disgusting type of nipples.
They
They're
poke
terrible.
out to say hello, and they go back in to say goodbye.
Please don't say that again in your fucking life.
Peekaboo.
Peekaboo.
Where's the nipple? Peekaboo.
My God. And then like it opens up and you see an eyeball.
The tits. You look into the tits and the tits stare back.
The tits have eyes. That's the new horror movie based on The Hills Have
tits.
Eyes. The tits have eyes.
The tits have eyes.
You know what I have to say to that?
The fuck was that?
That was a Nerf gun.
Oh. Okay. Honestly, it sounded like you were smacking a cardboard box in half or something.
Smacking it.
What'd you say, nigga?
I love how Marcus is like, the frick did I just come to? This is our normal affair of the You Can't Say That podcast. We get used to it.
Yeah. But I think it's about time that we stop praying and we get to the actual full cum.
Hell yeah.
Let's do this, boys. All
I
right.
cannot put this Nerf gun down. I don't know what it is about Nerf, but like, they're like, you understand that they're like toys and shit, right? But like,
Yeah.
you still see them. And you're
And
like,
you want to hold them.
"Man." Yeah, you want to hold them.
It's because
Like,
they're
man.
designed like if they're sci-fi shooters. Like
Yeah, they're so fucking cool.
They're
Like,
really
they're
cool.
dangerous. Cause I shot my cousin in the eye twice in the same spot
you're an
on
asshole.
accident. We're not even trying.
I wasn't trying, guys. It just magnetized into his eyeball.
I was just like, hey, look at this.
All right.
Be real quick.
Ah, come on!
Oh,
We were going so well!
Well, this is awkward.
A friend just sent me a message that
Yeah.
said, what if people said Shrek instead of cum? Oh yeah, baby, I'm gonna Shrek on your ass. Follow my Shrek, baby girl.
Oh wow. Oh, it's extra sprinkles.
Yeah, he was the
Kitty
one that sent
Shrek.
it.
All right. Well, the second Retro comes back, we're gonna do our introductions and get this podcast underway.
Yeah. It's the first live pod.
It's the very first live podcast. I think each and every two of you for coming here.
I thank Retro for not Retro. I thank Extra Sprinkles for clicking the link I sent him when I don't click any of the links he sent me. And I thank Marcus for being here, probably, hopefully.
Yeah.
And me for just showing back.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Host, take it away.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the 21st episode of You Can't Say That podcast. I'm your host, Pedro, and joining me today is Retro and Mark.
Hey,
what's
that's
up?
retro mixed slut Kirby to you, apparently.
Retrovix Slick Kirby.
Now, we have a script already, but I want to tell you a little story that doesn't go anywhere, but I think it's funny. A long time ago, there was this website where you could send links to people, and if they click them, you could see all their torrent history, so you could know what they torrented. And it was basically for you to catch people downloading shitty porn and stuff. I said- And I started sending it to every person I knew, just a link to a random video, like a funny beat, like haha funny. I sent one to Sprinkles expecting some fucked up porn, and just to a bunch of my friends, and no one had downloaded porn. That's the worst thing that could happen. Everyone just downloaded like games, fucking drawing apps. No one downloaded porn. I was so fucking disappointed.
Why is nobody downloading porn?
Yeah.
Also, somebody wants to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead and ask a question, Mr. Cameron Steers.
Sure.
That looks familiar. Is this a thing that I know? I didn't think they would just show up to this thing, but you know what? Yes, it is.
Extra Sprinkle says, "Oh boy, if you could see my download history now."
Well, I know this fucking
It's like a
idiot
moment of
just downloads everything that he can, like the worst fucked up douchey.
He has to archive everything.
Yes.
like he's just like, oh, if you will, you'll be so proud of me, Pedro. I've downloaded all the porn.
Well,
Sprinkles.
he was like, whips are fucking disgusting, and then I'm going into anime and shit.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And then in your server, he's like, "Confirmed loli." Okay, so next on our script would be the new Star Wars Battlefront 2, made by EA. You know,
Oh boy.
You mean the one on the Xbox?
or the PC, or
The Xbox? I'm talking about the original Xbox, damn it.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Xbox One?
The Xbox original one.
But there was also the original Battlefront 2 on the PC, so your joke fails.
Yeah.
Fuck you. There was also one on the PSP. I had that. That was fun.
Oh yeah, it was on the PSP. How the fuck do you fit a PSP?
Like, honestly, okay, from what I remember, like, comparing it from the PS2 to the PSP version, it's almost the same game, minus the graphics are a little worse, and the controls are kind of hot garbage, but, you know, it's almost the same game, minus a few
Well,
things.
yeah, you don't have another stick. That was a whole,
Yeah.
like, bad thing about the PSP. I mean, at least the 3DS could get away with it because it had the touchscreen.
Yeah. But anyways, on to the topic of, like, what everyone's been talking about, because we're no better than everyone else out there, is just how badly EA just handled, you know, the Star Wars license as a whole. Because
And how about EA just handles everything?
they basically, what EA likes to do is they like to consume and spit out what they consume and expect the consumer to just accept it. They just munch and chew on anything they can find, spit it out, ta-da, there's your product. Give me like $80 worth of microtransactions, and then
The
everyone's...
worst part is that it starts off well. They start off with a good idea, and if they see it works, they just hammer into the ground.
Dead Space, you know, Mirror's Edge. I mean, technically Mirror's Edge was more of a sleeper hit, but it had a cult following, and people really liked that game, myself included. And I was really, really, really looking forward to the sequel / reboot that they were doing, only for them to just follow game design trends and hope that would make it sell more. And
Make it Ubisoft.
they made it Ubisoft. And the worst part is
Ooh.
even Ubisoft sandbox games have more to do in their sandboxes than what Mirror's Edge did. And that's an accomplishment in itself.
This game made me Ubisoft.
And then, and then of course Dead Space was also a precursor to things to come, particularly with how Dead Space 2 and 3 were handled. I mean, Dead Space 2 was like, you know, it's still very much the game. You didn't have to buy the cosmetics or whatever, because those were just cosmetics. But then Dead Space 3 came around and, you know, involved microtransactions with the crafting system in a single-player game. And then...
Yeah, the
Oh,
crafting
even
system
before that.
is so horribly implemented in Dead Space 3. It's baffling. Well, Sprinkles and I have been playing Dead Space 3 because I'm going to do a video essay on that pretty soon.
All right.
And holy fucking shit. The game, it feels like a central core of the game was just ripped out. Of course, the crafting, if you took out the crafting, it would still be a bad game, but it wouldn't be as bad as with the craft.
Yeah, from what I remember, you know, when it first came out, people were still defending the games, like, "Oh, it's not that bad," and I'm all like, "I don't understand how you can defend this." Like, literally, this wasn't even in the fault of like Visceral Development Studio. This was just the fault of EA, like messing with everything. Like, whenever EA touches any project, it just turns cancerous and dies. That, or it's just a lifeless husk that is monopolized every year, like the way the sports games are.
When Dead Space 3 came out, I defended it a lot because when Dead Space 3 came out, it wasn't the only bad game that came out. You know what game also came out the same day?
What?
Alien Colonial Marines.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I bought both of them the same day. I was really excited for Alien Colonial Marines, and I was ultra disappointed. So, after the shit that was Alien Colonial Marines, I played Dead Space, and it was like a godsend.
Okay, I can understand from that perspective. Dead Space 3 would actually seem like okay.
Yeah, but now that I'm playing it again, god damn, how did I finish that game 3 times? It's
By sheer willpower, that's how.
It's rough. It's really rough. We're having a rough time playing for more than 3 hours because the game drains you of everything.
Speaking of draining of everything, let's head back to the modern topic at hand: Star Wars Battlefront 2. And
With loot boxes.
okay, let's discuss. Let's run this down from what is currently at the time of this live stream. Okay, so during the early access / beta, players could play the game. They played it and they realized a lot of these loot boxes contain stuff that would literally freaking just give you a massive boost if you were lucky, like increasing your health or attack or stamina, whatever, like actual gameplay changes. And then people found out, like, in order to unlock certain characters they want to play, like Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, you have to grind over 40, no, originally over 80 hours just to earn it. And even then, even if you wanted to just go do those 80 hours like a madman, you couldn't even do that because they put a cooldown on how much credits you can earn per every 3 hours. And so people made a huge fuss about that, rightfully so, and they dialed it back only by a little bit. And so when people calculated...
But they also dialed back the amount of credits you can get.
That too. And then when they recalculated again, it was like it decreased by half, so it'd be 40 hours now to unlock whatever character you want, like Darth Vader. And people continuously made a big fuss about it. Metacritic just absolutely destroyed Battlefront 2. And
I think it's the lowest rated game.
it's the lowest rated game in the history of Metacritic.
And it has the lowest rated comment in the history of Reddit.
Yeah. And so it's just, and then after that, EA was like, okay, we're gonna temporarily pull back these microtransactions. Keyword temporarily. They're not getting rid of them. They're not fixing their game. They're just getting rid of them for now, just so they can let the heat die over, and hopefully they'll just be able to put it back in, and people won't complain after that.
They just, I was slide into DMs of 13-year-olds. They would slide those fucking microtransactions. Nobody will fucking notice.
You know what really sucks about the whole thing too? I deeply enjoy... I'm not really a fan of most Star Wars games because most of the ones I've played besides like, Battlefront 2 and 1 were alright. They weren't my thing. But Battlefront 1 and 2 were they were my jam. I really enjoyed those games. And playing the original reboot of the Battlefront game, it was definitely lacking in content and their priorities were not in the right areas. Like, in terms of multiplayer, it's fine. It's still technically Battlefront, but it lacks the soul of what made the Battlefront games the Battlefront games. And this isn't necessarily saying, oh, it needed a campaign and all that. No, what the original games campaigns were basically just offline multiplayer maps contextualized through story. And that's all it really needed.
Bots.
Yeah, and with bots, and that's all it really needed. You didn't need to make this cinematic campaign for Battlefront, and I think that's where some people got the wrong idea when they said they wanted some single-player content with, like, an actual campaign. No, because the original Battlefront games were just story contextual offline bot battles. It's not the most graceful thing to say about the game, but, that's how it was, and that's all it needed to be. Because the original Battlefront games, at least from what I've played, I feel like they were trying to evoke the sense of you being one of the soldiers in an actual battlefield in Star Wars, and like in the movies. It was
an actual Battlefront.
Yeah, and it was about you putting you in the shoes of those grunts that actually did all the work in the background, like in those, that was good. That was fine. That's all it needed to be. It didn't need to be anything more grandiose or whatever. And even with the campaign added in Battlefront 2, from what I've seen, they try to go for this like I,
Kind of like a rebel story.
it's a rebel story, but like the way they go about it is so like the first Black Ops. It plays like the first Black Ops in terms of tone and story. And I just don't think that really fits in a Battlefront game to begin with, but kudos for them trying. But yeah, and then again the whole microtransactions, and then they got rid of them for temporarily. I just think it really sucks because EA is a huge monopoly at this point. That company needs to stop. Someone needs to sue or like file a lawsuit against the monopoly of entertainment properties they hold, because it's worse than Disney at this point. I mean,
And they work with Disney. So...
and they work with Disney, so like it's even worse.
Disney's putting a foot to their boot to their neck at this point. Like, stop fucking game ball.
I think the only reason why Disney is like quote upset about it is not because of what the game is; it's because of the backlash they're receiving. And Disney, if Disney's known for one thing, they hate getting backlash. Absolutely hate it. They want their reputation to be always consistently clean. Of course,
clean.
That's never going to happen with any company because everyone's going to have something to bitch about in the long run anyways, but that's beside the point.
Speaking of EA, I want to go on a tangent of rants. Also, hello, Electric Drifter. Thank you for joining our live stream.
Sorry for the late response.
You are super fucking late.
I know.
But I want to go on a rant on EA because I did something to my beloved series. Two beloved series, perhaps.
Dead Space.
No. Dear EA, if you can hear me from your ivory tower of money swimming in your dough like Scrooge McDuck, please fix Need for Speed. Please give Criterion the opportunity to make another Burnout game. That's all I ask for. That's all the only thing. Look, you're to me, it's like EA is like, they're terrible. But they have those franchises, they have those IPs that you kind of want to play, like Dead Space, Battlefront, Need for Speed, Burnout. And they were like, okay, after Burnout Paradise, because like Need for Speed was dead for like a while before it made a resurgence.
With Most Wanted.
Yeah, with Most Wanted onwards. And like they're like, okay, we're gonna take the entirety of the Criterion team that was working on the Burnout series. We're gonna move them to the Need for Speed series, and for like the next Burnout game, we're just gonna make this shitty mobile game that just wastes your time. And then we're gonna take it off the App Store for a little bit, and then we're gonna put it back. But still, don't worry, we'll come back to this because they did promise a game from Criterion that wasn't gonna be a Need for Speed game at all. What they described it as, because it showed up at E3. It showed up at E3 and nothing happened. It just kind of went under the radar.
Retro, I just got a message from EA. It says, I don't think so, pal.
It's funny because like...
I wasn't finished!
Okay, fine. Finish your thing real quick.
And, okay, because look, it's like, okay, I'm a huge fan of the Burnout series. Since the original Burnout onwards.
Oh, my fucking God, he's clapping.
Shut up. I'm black. I can't help it. It's in my nature.
I can't help but do it either too.
Yeah, but like the original one, so all the way to Burnout Paradise. I thought the first one was okay. The second one, it was a good step in the right direction. That's where they started showing their footing. Third, Burnout 3 Takedown, that's where everything was just like, all right, now we know what we're doing. And from then on, it was just like, all right, cool. Burnout Takedown, Revenge, Legends, Dominator, Burnout Paradise. And it was just like a slew of really good games.
I
Really
didn't
good
even know there were
arcade.
that many Burnout games. Holy shit.
I thought there were
Yeah.
only 4.
Yeah.
No, because Legends was a portable one, and Legends was just basic, like it was
like the
Burnout
Smash
3.
Brother of-
It was the Burnout 3 for like PSP and like DS. But Burnout Revenge was basically because Burnout Paradise and Burnout Revenge came out at the same around about the same time. Revenge was the original format. Burnout Paradise was the new format. But they both came out of this. Actually, no, it was Revenge and Dominator that came out around about the same time. Because Dominator was just they're both originally the same game, but Revenge was a
You're
launch
confusing your Burnout lore.
title. Shut up!
You.
No, because like Revenge was a launch title for the. Oh yeah, Revenge was a launch title for the Xbox 360. And then Burnout Paradise came out like a year or two later. But still, just a slew of great games. Then they're like, okay, we need to bring back the Need for Speed series. But who are we going to get it to do it? Let's get Criterion to do it. All right, Need for Speed Most Wanted. Criterion makes it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Mind you, the original Need for Speed up to Wastelands were really good games. And then it just kind of stopped. A huge hiatus, then get to Most Wanted. Most
We're
Wanted
talking
was
about the original Most Wanted, right?
no, not the original not the original one. The new one. The newest Most Wanted.
Okay.
Most Wanted, it was the newest Most Wanted. It was okay. I think it was Hot Pursuit after that. That one was like, it was good, but it wasn't like something tout about to home. Rivals, okay. New one is just like, oh my god. You take these beloved series and you fuck them. Need for Speed was great. And then EA was like, but we have to make money. And then they put in the newest game. Fucking, what is the newest game? I'm pissed. That's how
I think it
much.
was like
I think it's
Need
just
for
called Need for Speed.
Yeah, I think it was Need for Speed reboot.
No, the newest one, like the one that just came out. Need for Speed, crossing my neck. No, Need for Speed Payback.
No.
That's the newest one that just came out. And it's just like, it's so average.
At least it's not bad. You can say that.
It's not bad, but it's not good.
You could say it's the Sonic. You could say it's the forces of Need for Speed games.
Yeah, it's just okay. And I'm just like, come on, man, stop ruining all my fucking franchises.
But Retro, seriously, if you think you want a new like Burnout game, instead of whatever you're thinking of, next gen Burnout, it would probably be an always online open world driving game
Like the Crew.
with missions and fucking craftables for your car.
That'd be great.
What the fuck are you talking about? That would be fucking terrible.
I mean, it's already been done though in like the Crew and the freaking Forza 7.
And Need for Speed.
It's,
Okay, I gotta, Need for Speed is a weird series.
but
the timeline's different, but it's just like all the recent games are basically like, man.
But yeah, the thing I was going to bring up about EA as a whole, as a company, like looking back from here all the way back to their humble beginnings, they started off, pretty humble, like most companies do.
Humble bundle.
And then it was after, like, during the early 2000s when things started to take a change, they started acquiring rights left and right to a lot of games. And one of the most notable things they did was acquire the rights to the NFL as a whole and other sports games so that they can only make those sports games with your favorite, at the time, football players and all that. And
I
at least
think at the time they had NFL, NHL, golf, and not baseball, a fucking
basketball.
basketball.
No, they didn't. 2K had basketball. 2K basketball.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I mean at the time.
Yeah.
At that time.
I think but yeah, after the turn of the millennium, that's when like they became that became the precursor to things to come, with them acquiring so many rights to properties and to so many intellectual properties, and not really either milking them for all they're worth or not doing anything with them. And they did this with the Dragon Age games. They did this with Dead Space, and then during the late 2000s is during that weird experimental phase they went through. It was like, okay, we want to like just throw as many games out there as we can and see which one will make the most money. That's the only reason why they were making kind of creative and new experiences, or allowing them to be made, I should say.
Throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks.
That's basically their game plan at the time. And then once they had moderate success with Dead Space, they were trying their hardest to make that like this Call of Duty level series, which was never going to happen because A, not everyone's into horror games, and B, it's more sophisticated than a Call of Duty game. It's just not going to reach the same level of like audiences.
And then they tried to beat Call of Duty with Medal of Honor Warfighter.
Yeah.
Which, to their credit, Medal of Honor Warfighter was a pretty decent game.
It had good moments, it did, but it suffered a lot because it was trying to cash over. I mean, it was trying to get that Call of Duty cash.
It was trying to be something that it wasn't. That it wasn't supposed to be.
It's
And
ironic.
That's the big problem with EA.
And it's ironic because the original Medal of Honor games is what it was its own thing, and then like the people who worked on like Medal of Honor, I forget what it was called, the one that was like kind of like the precursor to Call of Duty, the first one. It was Medal of Honor something. I forget, but like I know someone's gonna correct me, but yeah, that one, the ones that went out to make Call of Duty because they wanted to make their own unique game. The amount of irony from them going from Medal of Honor to Call of Duty, and then Call of Duty becoming the huge success that it is, and then EA's like, okay, we need to be Call of Duty. But yeah, I think EA's biggest problem as a whole is they want to be as successful as the Call of Duty franchise. Like, they don't care what kind of game they're making. They're just like, as long as it makes enough money as Call of Duty, we'll let it be a thing. And obviously,
a very, very bad idea because Call of Duty had to fucking work its ass to be the way it was, because Call of Duty, it started off as fucking generic World War II fighter.
well, at the time, it wasn't generic because of what it tried to go for in terms of cinematics and tone. But I mean, nowadays, yeah, it seems kind of generic, but at the time, it was pretty revolutionary what they did. And I mean more revolution, not necessarily in a gameplay sense, but more in like what kind of storytelling they could do within gameplay. And as for EA's,
Have you ever played Call of Duty Classic?
I played the original Call of Duty games up until, well, no, I played every single Call of Duty game up until the original Black Ops, and that's where I petered off.
Dude, the original Call of Duties.
The
It's
original,
rough.
okay, the first two Call of Duty games were good. Okay, Call of Duty 1 was a bit rough by today's standards. Call of Duty 2 still actually I believe it stands the test of time. Call of Duty 3 was not made by Infinity Ward, it was made by Treyarch, and that one was just hot garbage. And then we come to the modern classic that was Call of Duty 4.
Yeah, but you're also like Sonic games, so how can we trust you?
Oh my fucking god.
Just no one who likes Sonic.
Just
Not
no
even
one who-
themselves.
Wow. But yeah, what was I going with this?
Probably nowhere.
No, EA, okay, you know
You
how
ain't ruined shit. That's what you were going by.
No, their current philosophy now that they've stuck with for the last 5 years was games as a service. They want to sell their products like if they're amusement parks, like where each ride, each feature should be charged, because you're paying for that feature instead
If
of
you
you.
gonna throw up in the seat, that's gonna cost you extra.
But an amusement park doesn't cost $60.
Exactly, but they just want to milk the whales as much as they can. The thing is, the casual market, as stupid as they are sometimes, they're not that stupid. Not everyone is like has infinite money, especially the vast majority of the populace. And
Once
You
I,
know
you
what
have
them
friends
niggas
that
got?
burnt
Credit
like
cards. Hell yeah.
$300 on a Simpsons original game because he thought it was a glitch. And basically he got the shit beat out of him by his father and his mother.
oh yeah,
Who
Never-
the fuck spends money on those fucking city building games?
more importantly, why the fuck would you let your kid have access to your credit card if he's gonna like do something like that without?
He was
Okay,
not a
because,
kid. He was
Like,
a
I don't know
teenager.
what it was like before then, but I know, like, if I were to purchase something digitally for, like, something, like, you have to go through barriers first. Like, you'll click on the thing and it'll say the amount. It'll give you the information of what you're doing. It just tells you, hey, you're spending money. You know
That
you're spending money, right?
That and it would have to back in the day you were required to like individually punch in all the card information and all that. Nowadays you can just save it and then just like copy paste whatever.
Yeah, but it's a good glitch, my good black ass.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said that to cover his ass.
He was. He didn't cover his ass. His ass was wrecked after that day.
Speaking of asses getting wrecked, let's talk about net neutrality and where it's at the moment. So recently, the government is still trying to kill net neutrality, and they keep continuing.
It ain't the government. It is it is
It is.
internet IPs. IPs.
Are you sure?
The government is involved, but IP lobbying works for the
Okay.
government.
Okay. Well, point being, government's still involved. But anyways, the IP holders slash the government are continuously trying to kill net neutrality, and their plan. Well, the way it seems to be going is their plan is to just keep constantly trying to push it until people stop like complaining that they're doing it, and then they can just sneak it in while everyone's down. I think that is really scummy on their part, and I really just it makes me angry knowing for like almost I want to say 3 years now or more we've been fighting.
About 4, actually.
Yeah, about 4. Like, we've been fighting to keep our net neutrality, and every time they just keep pushing back the deadline, and they keep pushing it back until people stop making a fuss about it. And we all know that day's gonna come, but I greatly worry that it's gonna come a lot sooner than we expect. And the only way we can ever like quote win this is if we continuously fight so hard to where the old farts that run those companies die, and the new people who are now in charge of at that time would be like, okay, we're gonna stop for real. But that's very idealistic and optimistic to think that way. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It could like the worst thing that could happen is it'll just like by the end of the year it'll just be net neutrality is no longer a thing. Or another possibility would be like if people are really willing to do this, it would be like a multi-generational pseudo war between the consumer and the people who run the internet IPs. And that would be something else as well. It'd be like a second.
Honestly, the only thing they needed to do is like get a cop to kill a black man and then just slip it in. Nobody would notice.
The internet it
And
kills
as
you.
fucked up as it sounds, like if something like that happens, people won't shut the fuck. Like it's either racism or fake racism or net neutrality. And at this point, people care more about that fake and racism.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I I think what I want more people to understand how important because let's be real, a lot of us take for granted how great the internet is. The despite what you see, despite like the way people behave on the internet is probably at its or maybe it's even past its peak at this point. Like there's so much freedom and in what you can do, it's so invigorating.
I can download porn. I can download porn.
Like like okay,
What other way can you watch free porn whenever you fucking want?
besides porn, you can go about any aspect of the internet in almost any way you want to if you're crafty enough. You
Oh
know,
yeah, dude.
it's just there's so many options for you with the way the internet works now, and if net neutrality is killed, we'll be charged just to use specific websites, and it would be like it'll function basically like cable box, but on the internet.
Okay, let me just tell you something. You're just saying that because you live in your fucking fairy tale United States of America.
Not really.
When you live in shit third world country like I do, you you have your freedom, and I'm not saying it's good, but net neutrality, the elimination of that, it's not really as bad as you say it is.
Killing net neutrality?
Yeah.
Why do you
Why
say
do
that?
I say that? Because in Mexico, net neutrality does not exist.
So what are the
It's-
benefits?
There are no benefits, but it's not a post-apocalyptic thing. Okay, in Mexico, it's really subtle. It's really subtle and it's really scummy. But the net neutrality isn't like, oh, you only need to have this to get the YouTubes and shit. No, it's the net neutrality type of certain pages will load faster than others. You know, like
That's
they
still
will
bullshit.
they will
But that was
kill
the whole
your
thing. That was the
they
whole
will
thing to
kill
begin
your
with.
yeah they will kill your YouTube so you can use Bing because Bing is faster, for example.
No,
And
Well,
I'm
thank you.
living with that about 13 years of my life.
well, obviously you're used to it.
What the... Okay.
Like, there's no okay. The reason, okay, I'm gonna quickly counter that by saying there's literally no excuse for you to do that at all. Like, there's no reason. It doesn't
Yes,
save any
there is.
money. It doesn't
And it's
save any.
called business.
No, I mean, from
But
a
that's the
business
problem.
standpoint, you're not saving money by doing that. You're just doing that to milk people, and that's the problem.
Well, yeah, it's
And-
a business.
I know,
In
but
business, you
Yeah,
don't
but
have to print.
but you did. But he
Britain,
did say
you're
it
not a-
was scummy.
Do you think EA goes around rolling like, oh my god, they say I was the worst company? They don't give two shits.
yeah,
And companies don't give two shits because there's no bad guys in business, there's only rich guys. You're either rich or you're losing.
like okay, here's the thing. The only reason why oh crap. What I'm trying to say was the reason why it's a bad thing is because there's hardly any competition on who provides your internet.
Yeah, in
And
the US because you suck.
I mean that's the only place where it's not like that is Europe. Europe has a lot of internet providers, but even then Europe has a lot of restrictions to their internet these days. Or not a lot, but like definitely a bit more in
I
subtle
can't make
areas.
fun of the Queen. Fuck this place. I'm going to Australia so I can make fun of
Okay.
the Queen. What a
The
fact.
only reason why you're complaining about this is because the fucking baby child US is having a fucking problem. I honestly think that the US deserves to not have net neutrality.
Why?
Why? Because the US is so accustomed to having everything on their silver platter that they don't know how actually rough things can get. And
So
I
you
think
want?
net
So you
neutrality-
basically want them to have a. You want them to have a handicap too.
I don't want them to have a handicap. I want them to not be complaining about stupid shit.
But the problem with that
It's not
is
gonna fix that.
Yeah, the problem with that is once you give them an inch, they're going to take miles upon miles. It'll probably even get worse for you because of what the U.S. is able to do.
Well, no.
Okay, no.
Because
I'm
Mexico is the
gonna
richest
stop you
man in the
both.
fucking world.
I'm gonna stop you both because here's where Pedro's whole thing falls flat on his face because he just wants us to suffer. Mark, yours falls into place as soon as you did that whole strawman thing. Here's what's because like I understand what he's saying. I understand that he has lived with this and he has come to accustom to it. And as somebody who has come accustomed to it, it's not really that bad. The fact that he was able to explain that it's not bad, it's still because he did say it was still scummy. And businesses do this because they are businesses. But the reason why net neutrality is important is because if I want to make a competitor to Netflix, I should have the same grounds that Netflix has.
Yeah, I was trying to build to that point, but my mind was fucking racing. So
Like,
Okay.
that's what the real point I was trying to get at was it's killing competition, and when competition's killed, we don't have options, and therefore we have to suck up with whatever businesses fling at us.
The
because
only
if
reason
because the
why
issue
competitions
because the
don't
issue
exist-
of
let me fucking talk. The only reason why competitions do not exist is because of their own U.S. fucking stupid laws. You give businesses too much of a fucking edge. Thanks to that, you can't have nice stuff.
I mean, okay,
You
no,
you're saying
no,
this.
you-
Okay, hold on.
And now you have the fucking puss coming out.
No, you're saying
need to
this
drink
like
that
I
pussy.
have or any other common person has any control over that. You're saying it like it's our fault. And I'm not gonna say we don't have a fucking a play in that. We do, but what I'm saying is the government and businesses work hand in hand a lot of the time for their presidential campaigns, and therefore a lot of ties have to be made. And as much as we hate that sort of thing, that's the only way candidates can viably make a campaign is to have sponsorships. And when they have sponsorships, they have to make a deal saying, hey, all right, so we're going to pay for you to do your campaign. Just don't do anything that fucks up our business, all right? And they have to promise that. Otherwise, they're not getting that money again. And there's nothing really we can do about it unless if we all decide, hey, we're all going to crowdfund this elected official and hope he does what we're giving him money to do, even though we already do that with tax dollars.
here's what needs to be done. Businesses need to stop lobbying for government. Period.
I agree.
That is not financially viable.
Yeah, it's not viable
good.
as
I'm not saying that what it is good. I'm not saying it is bad. I'm saying it needs to be done. Because reason why it needs to be done is because businesses getting into government pocket does not sit well with competition. Because let's say, for example, actually, Disney buys out so many properties and so many market shares that one day, I'm not saying as like a straw man, just as a hypothetical, one day a huge conglomerate is just Disney. So what you have now, the maker system on YouTube, that's Disney. Star Wars, hell, that's bigger than fucking Disney itself sometimes, and that's Disney. Marvel, that's Disney. Disney, fucking Disney, no shit. But like you see how big Disney's tendrils kind of latch out, right? Like they're fucking huge. Now think about that in government. If an oil company is lobbying for lesser laws on uses of fossil fuel, that's a little bit of a, I don't know. That's a little bit of gain for them. Because if they're going to like, hey, we're going to sponsor you for your campaign, but you got to help us out. That's government, period. I get that. It sucks that you got to get your money like that. And I can't propose a like new idea that would work 100%. Because fuck, I don't know how this would work. Crowdfunding would be dumb because everybody does it. Anyway.
that and also too our tax dollars are theoretically supposed to go to the all government campaign stuff to begin with, but they spend tax dollars elsewhere, or just put it in their own pockets.
Yeah, well, not that's illegal, but
Just because it's illegal doesn't mean they don't do it.
shut up. I'm saying it's illegal, but shut up. But my thing is this: look, lobbying just needs to stop. Companies need to stay out of government, because I understand as a financial, for companies to be in politicians' pocket, that is financially gaining towards them. And I understand that a business will do whatever a business can do to keep being a business. If they want to get rich, they gotta do shit. If they want to keep rich, they gotta do more shit. I get that. But if you want all this to stop, companies just gotta stop lobbying. And with the whole net neutrality thing, this is not about because like Pedro said, for him, he doesn't really mind the whole one site being slower than the other just to entice you to do the thing. If you were smart, you just wait. You'd be patient,
Or use a VPN.
Or a VPN or whatever. If you were smart, you can just bypass all that type of shit and you can get what you want. Hell, people do it now. I don't want to watch ads on you. Ad block. It's not hard, but it is the spirit of competition that is at risk, because if I cannot have an even playing field, if Comcast comes in and is like, hey, Netflix is paying more money than you are, I'm going to make your site slower because Netflix is paying me more, then that is a problem. If I don't have a foothold like everybody else does, because mind you, Netflix is only here because Blockbuster did not believe that Netflix would be shit.
Yeah, they didn't believe in the power of streaming.
Yeah, they did not believe in the power of streaming because originally Netflix was what Blockbuster was doing before.
Yeah, Netflix was originally just delivering disc all the time.
Yeah, and then when they introduced their whole streaming service, Blockbuster was like, nah, we could have bought them, but it's pointless because we are number one. We have a chance. And then the internet exploded, and where's Blockbuster now? Things are changing. There will be a day where there'll be a point where the internet itself would be bigger than we could ever possibly imagine, because it's pretty fucking big now. Imagine in 20, 30 years down the line. This is not even going to be an issue. It's going to be, what the fuck are we going to do with all this? Because it's going to be in our lives. Everything we do now technically is kind of part of the internet to begin with.
I can jack off without the internet.
All right.
You know how you're going to, but what if your jack off material got water damage? Ha! Oh.
Okay, here's the thing. I know what you're saying, that the whole internet is really big and shit, and it's going bigger. But you're seeing a scenario that can be easily avoided if you just react fast enough.
Okay.
You're seeing fucking post-apocalyptic ruptures in the ground, Netflix secret police coming to kill me because I use Hulu, and shit like that.
I am not saying that.
Yes, you're saying that.
He did not really say that at all.
No.
It's an
That
example.
is not what I'm saying at all.
Yes, you are.
No.
Fucking.
When he was advocating,
is stalling, and there's a secret police. They kicked down your door and they pointed you.
No, he said nothing even close to that.
You're supposed to be using Netflix.
I feel like you misheard something out of all
I
that.
didn't mishear anything.
It sounds like you did, man. It really sounds like you did.
I didn't mishear anything.
Yeah, you really did. What I was saying. No,
don't talk. I know what you were saying. I'm just saying that you're wrong.
How am I wrong?
And that you suck.
Okay.
You basically have no counter argument. You basically have no counter
You're
argument.
sick.
Yes, I do. I have a counter argument, and it's a very good counter argument.
All right.
Okay.
Oh.
If you,
Uh-huh.
and by you, I don't mean I was going to call you place. Retro and Mark. I mean, you, as in the fucking people of the United States, act fast enough. Net neutrality can be eliminated, but you can still have a fair ground. You just need to put laws that push limit. Not that push limits, that put limits.
The problem with that is
there are laws for fair competition, and there are laws for the reach that a company can have, limiting the other companies.
But wait a minute, what did you just say earlier?
Fucking
You
Netflix coming to your ground to fucking shoot
you said that when I brought up the whole taxpayer thing, he was like, well, they still do it.
Okay, but that's politicians. Politicians still.
yeah, but just because
I
it's a
live in
law
Mexico.
doesn't
Fucking
mean
more than 70% of the money is stolen. But laws are still laws, and laws are followed by heart. Stealing money is one thing. If your taxpayer dollars go somewhere else, that doesn't mean that Netflix will overstep their boundaries.
they
Netflix is going to overstep my boundaries. I'm saying that if
any
Comcast
company
comes to me and says, "Oh, Netflix is paying a little bit more than you. We're going to slow your shit down," that's fucked up.
All right, hold on. Let me make a point real quick. What you just said, the problem is even when that is a law, and even if we do kind of find a compromise between net neutrality and still fair competition, the problem is companies to this day and always forever till the end of time will find loopholes in those laws to pocket as much cash as possible. So really, you're only damage controlling the situation.
Well, yeah.
But that's not
At this
optimal.
point, it's the only thing you can do.
No, I think there
No,
should.
he's got a point.
I mean,
Because let's be honest here. Let's say we fight them off again. Let's say that everybody for net neutrality in the United States fights them off again, and we have a big old W. They're gonna come out with another one, just gonna have more bunch of shit. We get that this is gonna be an ongoing fight. It just has to be a fight that needs to keep fighting until they get, they don't want us fucking with their shit. And they're not going to do that because, well,
there's money to be made.
There's money to be made. But for me, I'm just saying, like, net neutrality is important because if I want to make a competitor to YouTube, to Facebook, to Twitter, to Twitch, to any service, I should have the same fair playing field as what they have. Even if they're bigger than me. Well, of course they're going to be fucking bigger than me. They're fucking YouTube. But, like, I should have that ability to come out in the market and say, hey, this is my service. You can come check my service. It shouldn't be, YouTube paying a little bit more money than you, so we're going to slow you down for a little bit until you cough up some clams, baby. Like, no, fuck that. That's dumb.
Okay, let's say net neutrality doesn't win. And, no, I mean, net neutrality wins. Everyone has the same shit. And Retro he's really pumped. He's going to make a new Twitch TV called Real Nigga Hours.
Hell yeah.
Even if net neutrality doesn't win, wins, Twitch would still fucking drown you if you are not.
No shit, because I'm new, dumbass.
It's not that you're new or not. It's that they have the power to do it, net neutrality or not.
But with net neutrality, you can make your own site with your own rules.
You can still do it with net neutrality.
You mean without?
Sure, it's an uphill battle more than the already big-ass uphill battle you have. But if you're not going to success without net neutrality, then what's the fucking point?
The point
is
to
cut the fucking middleman. The middleman is the internet provider. If I'm supposed to pay the internet provider to be on the fucking internet, that is the point of cutting out. That is the point of net neutrality. To cut out the middleman. Yeah. I shouldn't go through my service to Comcast so Comcast can go, we'll let you run a little bit faster or we'll run you a little bit slower. I understand that Twitch is going to fucking destroy me if I make Real Nigga Hours because Twitch has a better... First of all, Twitch sucks, period. But, like, well, I understand that it has a better platform.
Actually, recently. That's
pretty
fucked up.
Like, I understand that Twitch is better and more inept than me, and they have a better platform than me right now because I just made the fucking site. But that's not saying that I'm at a disadvantage. That just says I'm starting off. And at that point, like, think about it like
It's
this.
basically the same as someone starting a small business in real life, like like the way the 99-cent store started off, and how it started to grow over time against companies like Walmart and Target and Kmart and all that.
Yeah.
You're
Or
still going to have the Sopranos coming to your door trying to kill you.
But that's just the Sopranos because they want to kill you.
I mean, but these are, for example, let's say you're doing Real Nigga Hours on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
You don't only have the Twitch Sopranos, but you have the Justin TV Soprano going for your ass.
That's why it's called competition.
You're not getting the point. You're not getting the point.
I think what you're trying to add.
I'm actually getting kind of heated because it's fucking stupid.
I think the perspective you're coming from is a perspective where competition rarely exists to begin with, so you don't really see the point.
Oh my fucking god.
Well, that's what it sounds like to
You
me.
don't fucking know. You don't even fucking know.
Alright, then
Do you think that having a fair ground actually makes more competition be there?
not inherently, but the having the option there is beneficial in the long run.
Dude, having the odds stacked against your favor is what drives people to make that type of shit. Why do you think that after all these fucking YouTube shit, a bunch of video websites have been trying to come up, like Bleep.tv, like Vimeo,
In
a bunch of shit.
Daily Motion will rise again.
Dailymotion,
Sucks.
even though
I know.
it's the butt end of the joke, Dailymotion has stood like its ground for the longest time.
Yeah.
And even though the odds are stacked against them, that's a legit kind of marketing strategy. When you have the big man against the little man, the stuff that the big man does wrong, even if the odds are stacked against your favor, your stuff will look better.
But it comes to a point, how much will that be like a reversal advantage? Where's the line that you draw?
The line that you draw is in the fucking laws you pass. The whole point that you're saying, oh no, net neutrality, is because you're not thinking that, okay, what if it happens? We need to be prepared for that. You're just saying, let's not make it happen.
Well,
Yeah, 'cause
We all
that's
know
how you
it will
think.
happen at one point. There is no way that if companies can have more money, they will. You need to think ahead and actually, instead of going against not net neutrality, you need to find shit that will limit them off.
And that's literally what we've been doing right now. Here's the thing. We understand that it happens already. Net neutrality is one of those things, like, it's there, but companies still do it. Like you already said, like you said before. But this is one of those things where it's just like, it's a constant uphill battle because the lobbyists are trying to get this passed so they can make more restrictions, and we're sitting here like, you know what, we don't want these restrictions, fuck this, and we're pushing back. It's basically it is the American way.
The stupid way, the complaining way, they're not actually doing anything way.
I mean, that
But
applies
then
That's
more
the
in
American way.
that applies more to today than it did back then. I will
Yeah.
agree on that. That today Americans just complain more than actually do anything, and I'm no different. I will admit that.
That's
However,
what pisses me off the most.
but
Americans, I'm not just saying you.
yeah,
The only thing they do is complain. A petition or changes.org. This will do something. Like,
No, like,
it won't.
my thing is like, okay, if you have a problem with
If you
fucking
don't
government,
push
go to
it,
government and tell
Then
them.
get the bite.
Here's my thing. Like, if you have a problem with like when Trump got in office and everybody was shit, I'm just sitting here like, it's another president. What am I losing?
I mean, honestly,
And-
presidents don't even have that much power to begin with.
Exactly. It's just basically the poster child of that. And
It's
I kind of find
Congress
it
that
funny.
has the most like
Yeah.
per hour.
And I'm just sitting here like, okay, you have a problem with Trump? Take it to Trump. The nigga's on Twitter a lot. So you have a plenty of fucking options. You can send him a fucking letter by carrier pigeon. I don't care. You as an individual, as a United States citizen, have the opportunity to participate in your government. Not some bullshit like, let's sign a petition to, you can probably, like for example, you could make a petition. Like, let's say, like in your local school, you can make a petition for like more ice cream bars. Get everybody to sign the petition. And instead of just signing the petition and going about your merry, you go to the proper channels and you go to the, hey, these are a list of people that would like more ice cream bars in the lunch cafeteria.
Let me interject real quick by saying the original purpose of petition signing was to give concrete, factual evidence of how many people actually want said change or whatever, instead of saying, oh, most of these people in this area want this. No, they have proof from individual signatures that people want this sort of thing. That was the original intention of petitions. Nowadays, people think petitions are you sign this, and if enough people sign it, then the change is going to happen, which is not the case.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. But I'm just like, all right, yeah, cool. If you have a problem, like, let's just say locally, you have a problem with your fucking transportation. There are too many potholes, and you feel like the bridges and the asphalt needs to be worked on. You go to your representative. You tell him, hey, I believe that we should fill the potholes in the downtown, because they're becoming a real nuisance to drive over. That's how you do it. You go to them straight up and you fucking tell them. You don't go, man, these potholes suck. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to tell everybody that these potholes suck, instead of telling the people they need to tell.
I think
Tell the Congress of Transportation.
I think another thing that plagues America at the moment is our sense and priorities on what is wrong with the country is really, really misguided. Like, actual problems with the government is one, the companies lobbying for the presidency. No one seems to really care about that. And everyone seems to be focusing on is who's racist or who's not racist, or if you voted for this person, you're a terrible person. Stuff that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And ultimately, those problems were kind of fixed a long time ago. And
I'm about to drop something.
sounds like someone's. But
Yeah, I dropped something. Sorry.
yeah, I thought you were gonna get upset about something. I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Racism, no!
No.
But like, people are focusing on the wrong things, or not necessarily things that are not inherently bad to focus on, but things that shouldn't be of top priority. And I know people like to make the argument that racism still exists. Well, no shit, it still exists. Sorry.
Like, here's my thing. Here's my thing about racism. And hear me out. Everyone is racist due to one deciding factor.
Color.
No. No. Everyone is, because if I remember correctly, everyone is racist by one deciding factor. And it is because racism today, it has a different definition depending on who you get this information from. But racism doesn't really have anything to do about color, because you can be racist to an ethnic group or racist.
Yeah, racism generally has origins based off of preconceived notions, stereotypes.
Yeah, but it has to do with, most racism deals with disease, if you think about it.
This is from a historical standpoint, that is true.
Yes, from a historical standpoint, it is, racism has devolved from disease. You don't want to get us communicate, or you don't encounter a certain group of people or a certain area. That was what it was. Now it's like, he's racist because he doesn't like a thing that people like, or he's racist because he said a thing. Like, no, look, Racism in its pure definition is the discrimination towards one or more races. If you are sitting there and screaming, "Fuck niggers, I believe they need to go back to Africa," then
I mean, that's pretty fine.
yeah, you're kind of a racist. Like, if you're screaming "fuck niggers, go back to Africa, you fucking jungle boy," you're kind of a racist. But if you say like, "I don't really like rap music," are you racist then? Or nonchalantly saying the N word, are you racist then? Because you said a word that has history? Boo fucking who? But like, it's so thrown around that even today, it's racist is not even racist. Everything's racist.
As the great YouTube commenter, I don't remember his name. All white men are racist. All men are misogynist. And he says something else, but like that's the meme.
Yeah.
It's just everyone is racist.
Yeah,
Everyone is racist.
Racism and prejudice had a somewhat. I don't mean logical as in it was correct, as it had a logic to it. Whereas, where people say, like, for example, when the colonials, or the Spanish specifically, invaded Mexico and the rest of South America, they didn't even win the wars against them because they were skilled fighters. They won the war because they were filthy human beings compared to them, and they died from diseases that they weren't accustomed to.
Yeah, and they kind of raped everybody and got syphilis.
Yeah. And it comes. Like what Retro said, historically speaking, racism came from a logical standpoint of diseases. A certain ethnic group had these diseases that we as individuals were not used to, so stay away from them because you don't want to die because of them. That's what it originated from. Then as medicine grew more and more advanced, that sort of stuff became irrelevant, and now people think up of new reasons to not like a specific group. Oh, I've seen a lot of lazy black people. Don't never trust a black person, they're lazy. Or always hire a Chinese guy because they'll always work hard for less. Or get a Mexican, they're pretty cost effective as well.
I don't know. Every black man I know is pretty fucking lazy.
I mean,
I do my part, goddammit.
To be honest, I'm not gonna say there aren't hardworking black people because I have seen them, but the vast majority of black people I've seen are pretty lazy too. And I don't want to say because this is gonna come off as really pompous, but sometimes I feel like they need to get their shit together before they can complain about how they're oppressed. Because yes,
as a black man, I say that you're not wrong. You have to understand the history behind the African American culture.
Yeah.
Basically, here's what happened. It was just like, all right, we're slaves, we're working really hard, we don't want to work really hard no more because this is bullshit and slavery is bad. We fight for our rights to become human, and we decide, fuck this. We march, we have civil rights, we fight for them, we win. Then we stopped.
Yeah. And I understand.
But you know why black men were slaves?
Because they were superiorly stronger.
But because another black man sold them.
Yeah, that too. African Americans are descendants of the slave trade from war-torn countries. It doesn't register to you.
At the beginning, it was Greeks and Egyptians and all those fucking people. Well, Egyptians were black people.
Yeah.
They were
kind of,
if you want to see it in a really, really fucked up way, it's kind of how Australians came to be, where they were prisoners.
Yeah.
And they were just taken to Australia. That was basically how, black slave trade happened. A big, chief didn't want these people anymore. Some people needed work. Hey, I can get some money off this. And they got sent off.
And they sold them.
Well,
they're prisoners.
They're prisoners of war, basically
what the
sold
Greeks
off.
did it was pretty shitty. Yeah, but it didn't stand from... At the beginning, it wasn't, oh, look at these chocolate boys. make them sweat, they probably have chocolate milk for sweat. It was the thing that was there.
Look, they are black people, and we need help. That
It's
was
kind of like
basically the
how
briefs.
Americans, after the whole slave thing ended, they got a lot of Chinese immigrants to make their railroads in the West Side because
West
they
Side.
because they knew that the Chinese would work for like almost free at some points and work really hard at it because they wanted to. They had a lot of honor culture, as I'm gonna dub it, because if they didn't work hard, they're worthless, and white Americans just preyed on that fact. Again, going back,
Go back to the. It's just like, okay, it basically stopped. Like, we got the rights that we wanted, but we didn't fight. We didn't fight harder. We fought, but we didn't get. We got the rights that we wanted. The whole freedom of speech, freedom to vote, the right to be treated as a fucking human being. Well, like we got all that shit, but at that point we just stopped, and we let life go on. And in that case, those people who are like fighting for like rights and the uplift of black culture and everything, they started to fade out. And then you have these newer people. You know what? We should, like, you already know the story. What happens to the black culture after that? This media comes in. Media is like, let's spice them up a little bit, because at the time, black culture to white people looked cool.
it was interesting and different.
It was interesting and different. They put a television, they put a mic, a camera, and they called action, and they kept going. And then from
Look at
there,
this jazz thing. Isn't it great?
yeah, they looked at the jazz thing, and it was great. And then from there, it just got, from what black culture became of at that time, started becoming more and more gentle. It started becoming more and more like, all right, we got all these black people on TV. Let's try to do what they're doing. And they start doing what we're. It starts subsiding our culture, and then I'm not saying that like white people stole our country or culture, but they took some cues from it.
Some very big cues.
It's a very big cues from it. And so as that keeps happening, and black people are losing that identity that black culture that they had at the time, it was basically a huge loss of like that morality. Like, man, we're doing the best we can, and all this. And they just lost that morale. And then from then on, they were just like, let's in a new narrative. Let's cast black people as like dumb because at around about the time they were still doing the whole cast black people as dumb and stupid, but it wasn't as big. Yeah, but it wasn't as big as compared to when slavery and stuff like that. You still had because you had your black exploitation movies and shit like that. As that came into office, and there's no really inspiration for like the black culture to look at and say, hey, this is not stuff you're supposed to be looking at. This is some stuff you need to be. It became more apparent that what we saw on TV and the new black culture was the new black culture, and everybody needed to follow that culture. So we latched onto it, and we held onto it, and then we grew it to what it is today. Sure, media had it in that whole spill, but in reality, we cannot, I say as a culture of black people, we cannot put the entirety of the blame on white people. We can't put it on white Americans. There, to an extent, to a very big extent, we are the, how would you say it? The authors our own demise, basically. Like, I understand, I get that there are black people out there. There are black African Americans out there that work hard and do all they can to inspire other black. And you see it, and it's just like, oh man, that's great. And then you look at black, it's like, that's the problem. They want to fix something that necessarily has already been broken, but it's not broken by society. It was broken by the people within that said group. You can't preach about black acceptance if you're not going around accepting other blacks.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember how a lot of people would bring up how the Irish were basically treated just as bad, if not worse, than black people at one point, and all that? But not many people really think about how that no longer became to be. And it wasn't a simple answer as, oh, because they look similar to white people, so obviously they're not blacks anymore. No. What ended up happening was when the Irish immigrants were coming to the U.S. long ago, they were put in the same neighborhoods as black people, and this they some of them got along with other black people, and some even had like Irish black babies and whatnot. But for the most part, there was still that divide and all that. But the difference between what the Irish did and what the black people do now is that the Irish back then did a lot of things. They made huge groups, almost like church level groups, of in the name of cleaning their name or saving their reputation, if you will, or making a better reputation. They did all these things, like become volunteer to become cops and volunteer to clean up the city. They basically did this as like a religious thing, all together at once, almost all together at once. And that's something, that sense of community that they've garnered to like basically clean up their reputation, is something that never really happened for the black people, because black people were sent. They were sent all over the place. So there's different ideologies for black people. Some black people wanted to go back to Africa and live their quote true lives, and others were like, no, that's stupid. We already live here. We might as well make the best of it. We've got so many different ideologies that they can't come together to help save their reputation and find something else to point the finger at. And that's why Mexicans used to be a sore thumb in Americans' history, because of the fact they're like, oh, the Mexicans are taking all the jobs, even though Mexicans were the ones stimulating the economy by working for cheaper. Whether you liked it or not, that actually helped out the economy in the long run. But now that ever since 9/11 happened, and war on terror became a thing with Osama bin Laden and all that, we have a new finger to point at, and it didn't have to do with anyone within. It had to do with people outside, way on the other side of the earth, people of Iran and other places. And
you want to mention Iran? Seriously?
Huh?
Iran and Iran.
I was gonna say South Korea, but then not South Korea, North Korea. But then it slipped my head. But yeah, war on terror.
Iran, Iraq, Al Qaeda,
China.
You get the point, but it's just like we started pointing our finger at the outside world, and we're still kind of pointing our finger at the outside world. Like I'll say, as a African American, things are changing slowly, but they are changing.
And technically, now more than ever, if you live in America, is probably the safest place to be.
Yeah.
Especially like with
just
a lot
don't
of
ever go to Europe. Europe is a fucking nightmare.
People don't
But
realize. Oh, sorry.
I have like a thing, like a theory.
All right.
It's not that I want to be the pessimist and shit, but it's a cycle. Someone, no matter who, will always get the shit stick.
This is true. Historically, this is very true.
Yeah.
For a time it was black people. I mean, for most of the time it was black people, and it was Irish, sometimes German. In 9/11 it was Muslims.
Sci-Fi Jackrabbit actually liked one of my pictures.
Great to bring up on the podcast.
Yeah. But honestly, my prediction, and I think I'm going to be I'm pretty sure this will happen. 10 years or so, is that the thing with black people and women will stop. It could come to whatever conclusion, but it will stop, and the hate will stop. But the next person that they will point out is going to be North Koreans, and that will be the new butt end of the stick.
But I feel
here's the thing about North Korea. It's not it's like you okay. I understand the pointing of the finger, but it's like the pointing of the finger is coming from one person. And if you actually look deep into like North Korea's history, those people are basically brainwashed to believe that we're the bad guys. Not only that, it's that people over there are mistreated completely. The power's at the top, and it never whittles down to, like the minority. Well, the majority. The power is in the minority. And for like North Korea, it's like this is a literal hellhole where the dictatorship is so strong that if you say anything about him, like it's so fucking ridiculous.
You
Like,
get
once
killed
look
basically
into
on the
it,
spot.
yeah, you get murdered. You fucking get axed, nigga. But like, it's like let's point a finger at them. You know, the people of North Korea are not like the problem. They are the victim. They are the victim of a totalitarian dictatorship.
They're a victim of
I'm
circumstance,
not
but
saying that they aren't the victim,
but there's
okay,
not much
okay.
you can do for them after that point.
Yeah,
Let me explain my
I'm not
position.
saying anything against torture thing, but I'm saying like those who are pointing a finger, who are going to point a finger towards North Korea. It's like, look, it's not it's one person's fault. It is one person's fault who wants to basically have this power trip. But don't point a finger at the people because the people are the victims of said thing you're pointing at them for. It's like pointing at a crippled person for being crippled. You see, he has no legs. Yeah, but he has no legs because he has no fucking legs. They're being brainwashed. They're bad people because they're being brainwashed. They don't have shit.
Okay.
So I'm not distracted. No.
In the 70s, around the 70s, there were two studies that were created by a certain man called Huntington and another man called Fukuyama. And they said, once the conflict in the world comes to a stall, the Earth will start a period that will be called the end of history, where nothing will happen and nothing new will ever come up again. And once North Korea falls, that I'm pretty sure will be in 10 years or so, that will be that point. And that will be when history ends. And that will be the point where black people and women and all this shit will stop being segregated. And once North Koreans start moving out of their places because they'll be able to leave, they'll be the group that is, the butt end of the stick, and we'll enter a new era. Well, yeah, there is no history, but it's the North Koreans' time to, get that thing that we already.
The only thing that I have to say against that is, as of now, okay, let me just say one thing. The idea of a golden age to begin with, I think, is something to like a utopian setting. It doesn't exist. Like, the idea of a golden age just does not exist. It varies from person to person. It's basically like asking what's your perfect world, the answer's gonna vary from person to person. The idea of a golden age, while technically they have these things in history just to define like a general thing, like, oh, for the most part everything was fine and all that. No, there will always be problems. There will always be something to drive humanity either forward or backwards or stretch them out far and wide. There's always going to be something. I don't think we're ever going to reach a point, at least not within our lifetime, where literally nothing happens. Because
the end of history doesn't really mean the end of conflict.
Oh. But
the end of history, it just means there's nothing that big going on.
Nothing.
Basically a stalemate. Like there's just nothing.
So
the world is divided into a bunch of things, a bunch of cultures, if you want to call it that way, where being black, being white, being women, men, doesn't really matter. But the places that you're in at that moment are the thing that matters. And if you relate the points that are in the end of history of Fukuyama and Huntington and put it into the real world, we are pretty damn close. Because it's talked about, the whole Muslim thing, that It's going to try to spread, but it won't spread as far. Most of Europe won't be Europe anymore. It would be a Muslim Arabic type countries, which is happening. The Americas will be divided into Latin speaking and English speaking, and Mexico will be right in the middle. And it won't know what to do. That's already happening. The Koreas will rejoin, and a whole Asian culture will bloom, but still will have problems with segregation and stuff. And everything fits. There's just one piece missing, and that's that one thing.
What is that one thing?
North Korea is the thing. It's the only thing stopping us from getting to that point. We are one. It's like an MMO if you want to see it in very basic terms. We're getting to the end game, and now we're getting ready for the raids. We just need to beat that final boss. And that final boss is Korea. Putting it in very basic terms, in very, very bad terms.
Life is an MMO. We're waiting for the raid.
It's really crazy how long the Muslim religion has stood the test of time, despite how absolutely backwards it is in our modern era.
And honestly, I don't think it would ever disappear.
Yeah.
At least
we would basically have to kill everyone.
To be honest, to think about it, even most religions had a very, very, very.
Well, the thing with something like Christianity, it's always changing, and to fit the modern era's needs, or to be quote acceptable. Muslims haven't changed anything at all. There's very small incremental changes at best. Christianity, from what it is now, from what it was 20 years ago, was radically different.
There's so many denominations of Christianity.
I know, but I'm just saying, even with all these denominations...
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's changed so much. There's so many different denominations of Christianity.
To think, nearly over a decade, or pretty much over a decade ago, gay stuff was, really despised. And now, 10 years later, it's pretty much accepted at this point.
Yeah, Mark is happily married with Jack.
Oh my fucking god.
No, it's Sonic. It will always be Sonic. He's this mixed slut.
Did you just call me a mixed slut?
No, Sonic is your mixed slut, dude.
Oh.
You sounded really offended. You just fucking call me.
I was more confused, why? First you called me a thought, now I'm a mixed slut? What?
When did they call you a thought?
You called me a thought.
Okay, now
before.
I remember.
Yeah, you...
Okay, now I remember.
You've called me a thought plenty of times before. Shh.
Honestly, you kind of are a thought.
How am I... Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Mark, you have said it before. You are a thought.
Yeah.
When did I say that?
You said you would... Oh my... We're not getting into your thought business. In this
we can do that in the other room, alright? We can do that
in the other room.
Oh my gosh.
But we've been doing this for at least an hour and a half for now.
Yeah, an hour and a half for sure.
So I think that's enough for the fuck.
Yeah, this was a pretty good debate we had.
I liked it. I didn't really like the net neutrality thing because you're a bunch of crybaby bitches.
Hey, the United States is a bunch of crybaby bitches. That ain't me. I ain't crying for shit.
I mean,
except for, the death of all pandas.
Alright, that is a real serious topic. I don't want to fuck with that shit, alright? There are people out there who are alright? I will kill for them.
For people or for pandas?
Well, the pandas. I will go out and hunt people so I can save pandas.
Oh man, I remember one time in primary school when I was 6, Chinese women came to my school and talked to us about the pandas, and I, as the little fucking shitlid that I was, I asked 2 things. Where can I adopt a panda? And the second one, can I eat a panda?
Where can I adopt? Can I eat it? Damn it!
The girl, like at the moment, I didn't like. I thought, I mean, panda meat. I don't know. It could taste good. And the
Oh.
girl just looked at me like, I guess that's some sacrilegious shit.
Just like,
Now
how
that I
dare
think
you?
about it, I feel pretty bad. I don't think she will ever.
Like you were a little, like understandable. You were a little kid, and like, but let's be real. That question was followed up by another terrible question. It was like, oh, here's a nice, cute question, and then, oh, kid, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, even the first question kind of pissed her off. I was like, "Can I adopt a panda?" And she was like, "They're dying."
They're done.
Dude,
God.
I mean,
Yes.
you could, but I'm
But
pretty
hey,
sure.
what if you adopted one just to keep it so you can save it?
Well,
And
that
then I
wouldn't.
said, "Can I eat a panda?" And she got even more offended and said, "You could, I guess."
She answered your question though,
Yes.
so you can't feel bad about it because she did answer your question.
She did answer it, and I thank her a lot for sticking up with this fucking idiot brain-dead child that I was.
But yeah, that's the end of the live version of the 21st episode podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us.
I had a lot
I've
of
been your
fun
host.
doing this. We should do this sometime again.
You know what? This was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. We'll talk to you in the next episode.
See you guys.
Bye.
Oh man, it's midnight where I'm at.
It's
It's
10
midnight
o'clock.
where I'm at too.